So let's start from where we stopped the last session. Earlier we have finished discussing the vertical lookup. So in that we have worked out two examples, and now we are going to discuss about the horizontal lookup, and we call it HLookup. So in fact in the previous discussion also I have mentioned that, so when come to the HLookup and Vlookup, there are no major difference between both of these lookup functions. The only difference that can be there, when it comes to the vertical lookup is arranged, in case of vertical lookup, the table is arranged vertically. Similarly, when it comes to the horizontal lookup, the table or the data set is arranged horizontally. So that would be the only difference what you can see in case of Vlookup and HLookup. Now let's look at the horizontal lookup or HLookup. The HLookup can be used to search for a value in a data table which is in the horizontal format. As I said earlier, when you are going to apply the HLookup, you can apply HLookup for the data sets that is arranged horizontally. For the horizontally arranged databases, you have to make use of HLookup to extract a corresponding value for a specified input. So the same function what is served by the Vlookup, it is done by the HLookup as well. The HLookup search the values in the first row of the table and return the corresponding output in the specified row. So in case of HLookup, what it does is, so it will be referring to the first most row. When you take a data set which is horizontally arranged, by referring to the first most row, it will gives you the corresponding values in the other rows. So we may take the example what we took earlier and we may discuss that, then it would be more convinced. The lookup value in the table should be in the first row. So like in the case of Vlookup, we used to see that the lookup value was there in the first, the leftmost column. Here, the lookup value or the input value should be there in the first most row. So we'll be looking at that when it comes to the example. එතකොට අපි දැන් කතා කරන්න යන්නේ HLookup ගැන. අපි Vlookup ගැන සාකච්ඡා කරා මුලින් පළවෙනි සෙෂන් එකේදී. එතකොට දැන් මෙතනදී අපි කතා කරනවා horizontal lookup. ඇත්තටම horizontal lookup සහ vertical lookup අතර වෙනසක් නැහැ. ඇත්තටම එකම එක වෙනස්කමක් තියෙනවා. ඒක වෙනස්කම වෙන්නේ කොහොමද? horizontal lookup වලදී අපි දැක්කා data set එක එහෙම නැත්නම් data table එක arrange කරලා තියෙන්නේ vertically. නමුත් horizontal lookup වලදී the data set එක arrange කරලා තියෙන්න ඕනේ තිරස් ආකාරයට. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කියන එක horizontally arrange කරපු data set එකක්. එහෙනම් horizontally arrange කරපු data set එකකට නම් අපිට apply කරන්න වෙන්නේ HLookup. Vlookup නෙමෙයි, අපිට ඒකට HLookup භාවිතා කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒතකොට HLookup වලදී සිද්ධ කරන්නේ මොකක්ද? ඒතකොට HLookup වලදී වෙන්නේ යම්කිසි data set එකක first row එකේ තියෙන values base කරගෙන ඊට corresponding values අපිට ලබා දෙන එක තමයි HLookup වලදී සිද්ධ වෙන්නේ. ඒතකොට Vlookup වලදී අපි දැක්කා first most column එකේ තිබුණු values base කරලා ඊට corresponding values අපිට ලබා දුන්නා. ඒතකොට මෙතනදී වගේම first row එකේ තියෙන values base කරලා අනිකුත් rows වල තියෙන corresponding values අපිට ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒතකොට අපි දැන් උදාහරණයක් සාකච්ඡා කරන්න යනවා. එතනදී බලමු කොහොමද මේක වෙන්නේ කියලා. කිසිම වෙනසක් නැහැ. table එක arrange වෙලා තියෙන ආකාරය විතරයි අපි වෙනසක් දකින්නේ. The lookup value in the table should be in the first row. එතකොට මෙතනදී input value එක එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කියනවා lookup value එක තියෙන්න ඕනේ first row එකේ. එතකොට Vlookup වලදී first column එක වුණා, HLookup වලදී ඒක first row එකේ වුණා. So let's move to an example and let's see. I have taken the same example what I used to take when we are discussing about the vertical lookup. I have taken these two examples, so I have taken the same example. Then we can see there is no major difference, but simply the way the table is arranged is the difference. So at the moment I have taken the information and you can see the same information, but only thing I have changed the names order. Now it is not in the ascending order. So normally when you are get a data set, so it is not arranged according to the ascending order, so therefore it is shuffled. So when you get the data set, as you did in the case of vertical lookup, here also you have to make sure the data set you format that according to the ascending order. Now let me take this table and let me convert that into a vertical table, horizontal table. So in fact you have learned about this when you were discussing about the paste special command. You know how to convert a table. By using that knowledge, I'm going to convert that table, because in this situation we are going to look at a situation where a table or the data set is arranged in a horizontal way. We are going to extract the values. එතකොට මම කලින් VLOOKUP සාකච්ඡා කිරීමේදී ගත්ත උදාහරණ දෙකමයි ආපහු ගන්නෙ. එතනදී පොඩි වෙනස්කමක් කරා. මෙතන names ටික දැන් ascending order එකට නැහැ, ආකාරාදී පිළිවෙලට නැහැ. මම ඒ ටික shuffle කරා. එතකොට ඒක තමයි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් database එකක් තියෙන විදිය. එතකොට දෙන ලද database එක ascending order එකට ඒක තියෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ වගේ වෙලාවක අපි අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම data set එක format කරලා ගන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට මෙතනදී අපිට අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ vertical table එකක් නෙමෙයි, horizontal table එකක්. ඒ නිසා අපි මේක horizontal table එකක් බවට පත් කරගෙන questions work out කරමු. එතකොට එහෙම කිරීමේදී මේක horizontal data set එකක් බවට පරිවර්තනය කිරීමේදී ඔයාලා ඉගෙන ගත්තා paste special command එක. එතකොට paste special command එක use කරලා අපිට පුළුවන් මේ information ටික මේ vertical table එක convert කරගන්න horizontal table එකක් බවට. එතනදී rows columns වෙනවා, columns rows වෙනවා. එතකොට අපි එහෙනම් මේක copy කරගමු. So let's copy this and let's paste it using the paste special command. So when you go to this paste special command, you have the option the transpose. So you may take that and say okay. Now you can see your data set is put it to the horizontal format. Now it's in the required way. Now it is in the required way. Now you have given a horizontally arranged data set. Let's say before you are going to apply the HLookup, let's identify what's your input and what your output. So when come to the input, you know, you have to take the name, because the requirement is you can extract the values based on the information that is there in the first most row, or we call it the first row of a given database. So the first row is the name. So therefore, depending on the name, you can extract information. So your output can be the experience as we took earlier and the basic salary. Same information. Now the thing is, you can see you have get the input and output. However, the one thing, before you moving into the application of the formula, application of the function, so you need to make sure that this table is arranged, or this table is formatted according to the ascending order of the first row. Earlier you used to do the formatting based on the first column. So normally how you do that, you may simply go to the table and you may go to the sort and filter. Then once you go to the custom sort, you can simply select, you need to sort it by the first most column, so it is name from A to Z. So this is how we typically do that. So in fact, in most of the cases, the tables would be given in the 90% of the cases, tables would be given in the horizontal, vertical way. But in some cases, you may getting the table which is arranged in the horizontal way. So in that particular case, what you have to do is still you need to format the table before you move on to the application of the horizontal lookup. Then how we do that? So it is little bit different from what we used to do earlier. Earlier we have selected even the headings of the table, but normally when you are going to format a horizontally arranged table, you can't start it with the headings. You simply go to the data set and then you may do the formatting, right? So then let me show you how to do this formatting. එතකොට අපි දන්නවා දැන් අපි HLookup apply කරන්න කලින් කරන්න ඕනේ පළවෙනි requirement එක තමයි data set එක ascending order එකට තියෙනවා කියලා ensure කරගන්න ඕනේ first most row එක එහෙම නැත්නම් first row එක base කරගෙන. ඒකට first row එක ascending order එකට තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ අනුව තමයි data set එක arrange වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. එහෙනම් ඒ වගේ වෙලාවක කොහොමද අපි මේ formatting එක කරන්නේ? එතකොට මම මුලින් පෙන්නුවා කොහොමද vertically arrange කරපු table එකට අපි මේක apply කරන්න කියලා. ඒතරම් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපි සිද්ධ කරන්නේ vertically arrange කරපු table එකට මේ දේවල් apply කරනවා sort and filtering option එක. නමුත් rare instances වල අපිට සිද්ධ වෙයි horizontally arrange කරපු table වලටත් මේක apply කරන්න. හැබැයි එතන apply කිරීමේදී පොඩි වෙනස්කමක් තියෙනවා. vertically අපි තියෙන table එකකට apply කරනකොට අපි headings උත් එක්ක අරගෙන තමයි මේක apply කරේ. headings උත් එක්ක. නමුත් ඔයාලට පෙනෙයි අපි දැන් horizontally arrange කරලා තියෙන table එකට apply කරනකොට අපිට මේ headings එක්ක කරන්න බෑ. ඒකට හේතුව මොකක්ද කියලාත් මම කියන්නම් එතෙන්ට ගිහිල්ලා. ඒක මුලින්ම අපි යමු table එක select කරමු. අපි so only the data values. Then you go to the sort and filter, then take the custom sort. But when you go there, you can see that by default, they are taking the sort by column. But this time you are going to do the sort based on columns. No, you have to do the formatting based on the rows. So in order to get into that, you have to go to here. There is an option, there is a button called options. So click on that, then you'll be directed to this particular kind of dialog box. Then it asks sort top to bottom. So it is simply applicable for the tables that is arranging vertically. But this time you are going to do the formatting based on the rows. So therefore it should be from left to right. So when you are going to do the formatting based on rows, you have to take this option sort left to right. Then say OK. With that you can see here it turned out to be row. Earlier it was column, but now it is row. Right? So that is the major change what it brings. Then you go to sort by. See, here you have the option row 4, row 5 and row 6. Right? So therefore they are simply taking the rows, and that's why I asked you not to take the headings. So if you had taken the headings, here the headings does not come. So only the row number will come. So therefore it is safe for you to select only the data set and take the row number. And what is that row number? The first row is row 4. Then from A to Z, so it is by default there. You can say OK. Now it is arranged accordingly. The Anuradha comes first, Kasun comes next, Nimal, Roshan, Ruwani, Saman. So it is equal, or it is similar to that of the table which is arranged vertically. Right? මේ විදිහට format කරගත්තට පස්සේ දැන් අපිට පුළුවන් table එකට HLookup apply කරලා අවශ්‍ය වෙන output ලබා ගන්න. So let me give a kind of input, the name, let's say it is Roshan. Let's say it is Roshan. So now I want to get the experience as well as the basic salary. How I must do? You take equal, then you go to the HLookup. Go to the HLookup. In that, you can see the same set of information are there. So except few. So what is the lookup value? So you have to give a lookup value. So it is simply the input. Your input is Roshan. So you can, if you wish, you can make it constant. Then you ask, what is the table array? What is the data set? In that, so the one option is you can simply select it from here, or otherwise you could have used a kind of range name for this. But here I am not going to apply the range name, but you can do that. Simply select the data set without the headings. Even in the case of vertical lookup, I said that you can't take the headings because the things are arranged in the ascending order. So therefore simply take the data set without the headings. So make it constant. Then the row index number. In which row you can find the experience. The experience is there in the second row. In fact, that is the only difference. Earlier we used to have the column index number, but here now we have row index number. So the row is number 2. Then it asks what kind of lookup. So is it an exact match or is it a closest match? So it is sensitive data, so you need to make it exact. So you know how to do that. Make it false. Say OK. So the basic salary, again, you need not to work this again. You can simply copy this information and paste it to the basic salary, and then you can only do the modification where necessary. So in order to get the basic salary, you have to get it from the third column. So it is the third column where you can get this information. Say OK. Then you get the required information. Now you can change this to Nimal and see whether it make the change. Yes, so it brings the required or the correct changes become applicable. So this is how we do the HLookup in an instance where you have an exact match. Then let me go to the second example as well, like I did in the case of vertical lookup. In the horizontal lookup, I have taken the same example, but again it is in the vertically arranged table is there. So using your knowledge on paste special, you can copy this and you can convert this table into a horizontal table. So use the transpose option and convert that. So here you need not to worry about the formatting because the units are in the what you call the ascending order from 0. So just want to get rid from this. Yeah. So you have 0, 1001 and 3001. So therefore no problem, it is already in the ascending order. So this time how you used to read that, from unit 0 to 1000, if you order within that particular range, the supplier will offer you the price 10 per unit. If your order is more than 1000 unit but less than 3000, it will be 8 rupees. If it is more than 3000 unit, then it would be 6 rupees. So like earlier, you would take the input and the output. Your input is going to be the units. For a given unit, you might need to get the price per unit. Price per unit. So let me use, for the output, let me use color, different color for the input. So light blue and light red color, I'm going to use that, right? So in the units, so you can assume a particular unit, let's say it is 3000 unit. Now you want to get the price. Well, if you manually think about this, you know what is the applicable price. from 1001 to 3000, it must be 8. So therefore, when you get the answer should be 8. So it's for a particular range. Again, you go and apply the HLookup. Take it. The lookup value, it is what we call the input. It is unit. Then what is the table array? So make sure not to take the headings, but only the data values. Make it constant. The row index number, in which row you can find the price per unit. So it is the second row. So this time, what kind of lookup you want? Is it the exact one, or is it a kind of closest one? So here you are not going by the exact match, but the closest match. Hence, simply leave the row lookup column. So you don't have to fill anything, or if you feel like putting anything, you can put through over there, but need not to waste your time on that. Just leave it, say okay. See, it gets the corresponding price per unit. If it becomes 3001, it's 6, right? If it is 1000, sorry, if you get 1000 over here, what must be the price? It should be 10. Yes, it gives us the required output. So this is how the HLookup will work. Now you are exposed to vertical lookup and horizontal lookup. Now let's go back to the lecture material and let's work out some activities which is given in the presentation. So let's start from activity 1. There's activity. The first activity, it says that write a Vlookup function to find the product's price for a given product ID. So when you specify the product ID, when you input the product ID, you must get the corresponding price. So it is very easy exercise compared to what we had discussed. So we can easily do that. So in fact, you can see the table is arranged vertically. Then you know you have to go by the vertical lookup or Vlookup. First we may copy the information and then let's try to figure out what must be the price for a specific product. Let me come to a new worksheet. You can take it. You may copy the given information. You may arrange them as necessary. Have it. So the product ID is there and the price. So this is your activity 1. Just want to make sure. So it is quite clearly, you can see this. So I have done several formattings. Okay, fine. Now it's fine. You can see that. So this would be the information. Right. In this activity, this is your activity 1. What do they need? This says that their input must be the product ID. So once the product ID is given, they need to come up with the output, and their desired output is price. They need to get the price. So this is the output. So you can easily work that out. Let's say, what if your product is, say, B234? There's a product. Let me take, for example, B234. Then you need to get the corresponding price, and that must be 420. So that should be the desired result. And let's see whether it works. So when you are going to apply this, what is the first requirement? You have to make sure that the table is formatted accordingly. So you may go to the formattings and format the table in the horizontal, format table in the ascending order. Go to the custom sort, the column, you want to sort by product ID. So based on the leftmost column, from A to Z, say OK. See, now it is formatted accordingly. So this is the very first thing what you need to make sure. Now you can go and easily apply the Vlookup. Go to the Vlookup, and what is the input value? It is B234. So it is your product ID. So it is your input. Make it constant. Then we come to the table array. So table array එක ආවම අපිට තිබුණා එක option එකක්. මේකට range name එකක් භාවිතා කරන්න. නමුත් මේක පොඩි database එකක්. ඒ නිසා අපි මේක range name එකක් භාවිතා කරේ නෑ. මොකද නැවත නැවත භාවිතා වීමක් වෙන්නෙත් නැති නිසා. ඒක output එකයි අපි ගන්නෙ, right? So අපි මේක select කරමු without the headings, but make sure to make it constant. Then it asks where you can find the required output. Your output can be found in column 2. And what kind of lookup you want? Is it a closest match or it's a kind of exact match? So here you can't go the things wrong, because you need to make sure that when you give the correct product ID, you are getting the correct price. So therefore it's a pretty sensitive data. You are not going for a kind of range instance, but it's a kind of exact match. Hence you have to type it like false. Say OK. So you get the required output. So it means you have done it correctly. Now you can test this. What about X 567? You get the correct price. It's not case sensitive, right? X can be simple X or capital X. It doesn't make difference. So S 123, similarly, you get the correct price. So it means you have done it properly. So you can easily do that.